Have you ever felt that strange pull, a whisper in your head, that you are meant to heal and help others, but it was immediately followed by a voice telling you, "Who am I thinking I could do that?" That tension between calling and doubt is where many healers start their journeys. And it's exactly what we are diving in today. Welcome to Unseen Light Podcast. I'm Astrid, and I will be your host today. I will be joined today by Angel Dash, coach who is specializing in helping healers find their own voice. Together, we will be unpacking the critical path of healer's journey, the early stages of it, when you're just waking up to your gifts, but possibly feeling still overwhelmed by imposter syndrome and self-doubt. So wherever you are just feeling pulled towards your healer's journey, or you're already starting to dive into it, this conversation will be for you. So let's dive in. Hello, welcome everybody. Welcome, Angel. Thank you for being here with me today. You work with countless healers and individuals on coming into their own and helping them on their journey. So if somebody is basically having suspicion that they might be a healer, but they're not really sure, maybe they're like, what is it? What are the first signs that people can experience that might tell them, okay, you are a healer?
Well, healing energy often shows up long before somebody adopts the label healer. Think of it as like when you were back in school and you were younger and all of your friends came to you and they confided in you and they wanted to talk to you and vent to you. And then afterwards they felt better about the situation or what was going on. That's one of the first signs that I experienced myself and a lot of other healers experience too, because you create a safe place for others to they're magnetized to you. They want to come to you. They're attracted to your energy. And so a lot of people, if you're finding a lot of people coming around you, wanting to spend time with you, asking to do coffee and just kind of gravitating towards you, that's probably one of the biggest signs that I have noticed as a healer, even before we have that label. But labels are just labels. So it's a matter of how you feel. It's a matter of how you as the healer is experiencing kind of a warmth or a happiness, even like a sense of gratitude after helping somebody in your direct area, if you want to call it that.
So it doesn't have to be like feeling like tingling hands or something like that. It can be literally just like noticing that people come to you for like emotional healing. Not doesn't have to
Mhm.
be like physical healing like straight away.
It doesn't have to be physical healing. I think the reason why I mentioned people coming to you as like a first sign is because you're already establishing that safe place when you're younger and people want to gravitate towards you. But it's more than just being a good listener. Healers, they feel deeply, they sense things that others can miss. They've likely even navigated deep grief or even trauma that and come out different in a more whole scenario. So they feel more whole rather than feeling more wounded. And I know at first that may not be the thing because I know when trauma happens for me, I'm like, I want to go and hit something. I'm mad. But the it's the overall once you've gravitated towards the healing feelings, right? So you have a sense of deeper meaning, deeper feeling towards other people, towards other things, and it doesn't have to be just towards one thing or another. It's a matter of feeling the world differently. And that's something that I experienced myself, and I thought, oh well, it's just because I'm neurospicy, but I feel I'm very empathetic, so I feel people's emotions even before they tell me. They can walk into a room, and I'm like, they don't feel good, something's wrong with them. Something's going on in their life. And so it's a matter of just kind of being open to the feelings that you have and being able to kind of take a breath and be able to see where your healing energy can go towards. So it's a matter of taking the time to be the good listener, taking the time to listen to yourself, to feel those emotions, because quite honestly, like that's the blueprint that you're gonna use to guide others anyway, even if you don't see it yet.
I think that that's actually wondering. That's actually a really interesting thing you just mentioned because I just realized as you've been talking, wow, actually, when you're maybe starting to be a healer, you might feel first psychically or intuitively sense what's wrong with the person even before you actually have that healer expertise to actually know how to fix it. So you might just that might be one of the first things that might be a hint that you might be a healer. You kind of sense what's wrong even though yet you don't know how to heal it, right? It can be like this
Mhm.
intuition, this empath like intuition.
Yes, so the intuition itself is something that I have worked really hard to hone, and I use that in everyday life. But I wasn't in tune with it probably like a few years ago when I was experiencing some deep grief myself. So it's a matter of kind of taking the time to listen to your body, whether that's internally, externally, kind of all of the above. So meditation is one of the best things that I try to do on a daily to help hone that intuition to feel more of what's going on around us.
But let's say I know somebody, and you work with a lot of people, so it would be really interesting to hear. It's like this intuition. Is it something that these people like kind of have it in some extent since childhood, or for a lot of people it awakens later?
It depends. I think it's a matter of, and I think I'm saying that word a lot. It's a matter of, or that phrase a lot, but um a lot of people can have it earlier, a lot of people can develop it later. It's a matter of what you're feeling, and it's individual. It depends on the person, it depends on what they've gone through, it depends on if they choose to listen to it. Because if you choose not to listen to your intuition, then that's okay, but that's not what the healer does. The healer will eventually start to listen to their intuition. The healer will realize, okay, there's this voice that's in my head that's telling me, hey, you know what? I shouldn't walk across the street right now because there's a car coming and we don't see it. Or something as deep as, you know what, I'm feeling my partner's emotions that are in the at the room because they experienced a really bad day. So it's a matter of listening to your body, both in all senses of the word, mentally, physically, and spiritually, to be able to hone your skills and hone your intuition to better serve yourself and others, if that's what you choose to do.
Because I'm thinking that let's say if somebody awakens this like later and they don't have much experience, let's say in a family, it's not really work, they are not really big on that. They really did not really experience it as a child and they really awakens it in their adulthood. Like I'm thinking like this might really trigger like some self-doubt, like thinking that it's not happening, maybe I'm crazy, I don't know what's that's going on, like lots of self-doubt. I would say it might be, I guess, also hard for people who maybe had it in a childhood and suppressed it. But like what you do if you feel like you're going crazy, like how you overcome that initial, oh, this is not happening and I'm just being insane.
So it's funny that you mention that because I am neurospicy. I have ADHD and I look at things differently with the world, right? But with that, that comes a little voice in my head that always questions me, always tells me what I'm doing is wrong, right? Or it's not right, or it's not this isn't good for me. And I'm not saying that this is just for me. I'm saying that others who have experienced this maybe look at it in a different perspective. So the best way that I can describe how I have learned to kind of calm myself down in those situations. Have you ever seen, I think the second one that just came out, it was Inside Out 2. It's the animated Pixar film with all of the emotions in the little girl's head. In the second one, she's going through changes in her body and she's becoming a teenager, and as she's doing this, another few emotions start popping up that are not the usual, happiness, anger, envy, the four main, if you will, I think maybe four or five. And one of those emotions, sorry, spoiler alert if you haven't seen the movie, one of those emotions is anxiety. And as we learn through the movie, anxiety is actually a protection mechanism because they are trying to keep the little girl safe. So anxiety is running around doing all these other things, making her question, making her think, "Oh, well, they're not gonna like you. Don't go talk to them. Oh, well, don't go sit over there. They're gonna judge you. Oh, don't do this thing because this is what's gonna happen." So it was a different perspective watching this movie because I was able to kind of take myself out of the situation and look at, okay, well, anxiety is just the emotion that's trying to keep me safe because they want me safe. So when I realized that and I connected the dots with that, in the end of the movie, they actually have anxiety sit down with a cup of tea in the chair and they tell anxiety like, I know you're just trying to keep us safe, but we need to do this. So because of that, like seeing that in like not in my head, but literally on the screen, I was like,
It's actually really cool.
right. So every
I
time I
only
start to
seen the
have
first
anxiety,
one. This is good. This is one of the few
you need to
movies
watch
for
it.
children that actually has actual real educational value. Wow, wow, that's good. I need to watch it. That's good.
Yes. I strongly recommend it. Even as an adult, you should definitely watch it.
I'm going to watch anything that talks about anxiety.
It's funny though. Like it gave me some anxiety, but it's funny. With the anxiety, they had her sit down. They had anxiety sit down. It's okay. You're safe. Like I understand that you're just trying to keep us safe. So anytime that I have those doubts that start to form or anything that's like, you know what, this isn't questionable, right? I take a deep breath, I put my hand over my heart, I'm hearing younger angel or a teenage angel who is scared that things may not work out. And I just kind of sit there and I'm like, I understand that you're scared. I realize that you're trying to protect us, but we're gonna do this and it's gonna be okay. So just kind of like taking that second, that even if it's a split second, you don't have to say it out loud if you don't want to, but taking that split second and just breathing, acknowledging those emotions, feeling those emotions, recognizing, hey, I realize that you're trying to protect me, but we need to do this anyway. It's okay. So just kind of having that realization, like I love that movie. I talk about that movie all the time.
I'm wondering if one of the things that can be so anxiety inducing about being healer might be some of the misconceptions that people have or the society in general have about this idea of healer. And obviously, a lot of them I'm going to be fueled by different religious ideas of like who healer are and how they look almost like this saint-like creature. I think like, what do you think would be like one of the most common or the most damaging misconceptions that people have about healers?
I think the most damaging that I have experienced personally and have seen some of my clients go through is that the moment that somebody says spiritual healer, there's like a negative connotation to it. I work with healers of all modalities, right? So I work with mental health healers, I work with physical healers, I work with spiritual healers because of my own journey, I know the importance of all of those healers. So that's one of the reasons why I work with them. And a lot of my clients, the mental health healers get a lot of the, oh well, if I start talking to you, you're just either going to judge me or you're going to therapize me.
Mm.
And one of my partners is also in the mental health field, and she suffers a lot from that. A lot of people, the moment that she says, "Oh, I'm a therapist," or "Oh, I'm a counselor," they're like, "Well, you're just gonna therapize me. You're gonna tell me I'm doing all the wrong things." And that's one of the things that I've experienced and seen firsthand for mental health healers. And for spiritual healers, it's almost like an ick. Not me. No, I love my spiritual healers, but I noticed that a lot of people, the moment that somebody says anything about tarot, anything about energies, anything about shamans, anything about Reiki, a lot of the people that have never experienced it themselves, they seem to be like, "Well, that's just hocus pocus." Like that shit's not real. Sorry. That's not real.
Yeah, no, it's like, yeah, I'm tarot card reader for over 20 years. I wish I have $1 every time I hear that. Never goes away. Not
You'd be a
even after 30
millionaire.
years. Yeah, oh, Jesus Christ. I would have such a nice car. Or at least I would have a car. But yeah, yeah, it's like it never goes away. But I feel like a lot of these misconceptions might be coming from like either people like trying to judge or understand the healer from like a traditional medicine perspective, like trying to like overlap it when where it doesn't overlap, or trying to like pin it against each other. I guess like when it like how do you think how we can like can we even like somehow like find a way how we can like combine them together or just make them cooperate or against stuff like
So you
like
brought up a
rather
good
than like
point.
making them butting against each other because I think that's where the misunderstandings are coming. Like people have expectations from healers like they have from medicine and they have expectations from medicine like they would have from a healer. I think that kind of some the math isn't mathing.
The math isn't mathing. You brought up a good point about how the differences between physical healing and spiritual healing, right? So I work with physical healers as well, but those physical healers are massage therapists, acupuncturists. I think there was a chiropractor. That's another one. So I think a lot of people are so stuck on, well, if I can't see it, it's not real, regardless of whatever their religion is. If I can't see it, it's not real. So if they don't see the changes that have happened with their body, that they have seen with medications, that they have seen with going to the doctor and them saying, well, you need to go to physical therapy, like the changes that they would have seen spiritually are on a deeper level, and that's fine tuning your soul blueprint, right? So when somebody is helping spiritually, they're going into the energy core of you as a person. When somebody is being or going to a doctor, they're having more of a surface level, this is my 3D, I can see the results of what I'm seeing. Whereas
I'll
like
take the
with
pill and I'll feel better
right, right.
immediately,
And then with
preferably. Yeah.
yeah. And then with spirituality and a spiritual healing, that's more of the 5D, right? The 4D, 5D healing that's happening that we may not see, but we can feel internally. And so I think a lot of people are stuck on this, like, if I don't see it, it's not real. And it's a matter of being attuned with yourself. And I feel like a lot of healers are more in tune with themselves and they realize that a lot of people need the spiritual healing or the deeper healing or that soul healing, if you will, because of the trauma and the grief or any other negative emotions that have happened or instances that have happened in their life. There's there's a core part of that spiritual healers take into account, whereas physical doctors and don't. Physical healers don't.
I guess like that then is going to be kind of difficult for the healer, but also for the patient as well if they don't understand this correctly, because the patient might expect from spiritual healer something similar experience like from the doctor. That means I'm expecting immediate results, but then the healer might, if they have the same idea, right? They might also doubt themselves as a healers because like if they are not seeing it, they might feeling it intuitively, but if like it physically doesn't manifest immediately, like a traditional medicine, they may also start doubting themselves, right? So how do you set like how do you communicate this with your client? How do you set it for how do you communicate with yourself that okay, like spiritual healing does not work like traditional medicine?
That's a tough one because it depends on the person. Myself, I'll give you a little bit of my background, right? So I didn't know that I was a healer or I didn't see the signs that I was a healer when I was younger. Some of the signs that I see now are a lot of my friends would come to me, they would talk to me, I would be a good listener, and then later on in life, then I started, doing hair, and that was another form of healing because I was making people feel good about themselves, and then, I opened a Rampage room here in Colorado in the US with my husband, which was a place where people could come to break things to relieve stress. In that same scenario, we had a relaxation room where people could ground themselves after that scenario and after that session, and they could just kind of breathe, take a second, collect themselves, and they were able to also write on the walls to release anything that was happening in their life. So, in addition to all of that, I was also a line medic in the US Army. So, and I've done my tour overseas, which resulted in an injury that I have. But all of these different things, I was a healer in different ways, right? So now, because I have a creative out outlook, if you will, and I love working with healers. Now I help people with the web design and the branding stuff. But all of this led up to me being what I'm doing now and fulfilling what I'm doing because I believed that who I was, who I had become, had started to formulate this life that I have. So when it comes to other healers trying to figure out if how to put this down in words and how to m- balance how they can help others and not actually be physically, right? So with mental health healers, they help people mentally work through problems. There's much more than that. I am not a mental health healer, so if that is not what you do, I apologize. But they help people work through trauma, grief, problems, issues, and find ways to cope with them in their everyday life. That's not a physical. That's not a physical thing that somebody can touch and go, "Oh, you know what? I'm going to pull out this thing and this is going to help me with my coping with this situation." That's a mental tool that they're teaching their clients to be able to deal with the outside world if similar scenarios come up. When it comes to, we'll say, physical therapists, when it comes to physical therapists, they teach the body muscle memory so that the body doesn't hurt itself in those same ways that it had before. So there's another physical way, but at the same time, that's also not a tangible thing. That's not a sheet of paper that somebody pulls out and like, okay, well, I have to bend to pick this up. Let me pull out my sheet of paper and now let me bend this way that it's telling me to. You do it so many times, it becomes muscle memory. And the same thing happens with mental, and the same thing will happen with spiritual too. With spiritual, it's a matter of like, okay, say you and I we had a session, right? When we have this session, I'm struggling with something. You help me work on a deeper core value, on a deeper level than the superficial. Okay. What happens is if I'm accepting, which normally I am, when I'm accepting, I am releasing whatever it is that's holding me back. So that's at a deeper core level than it is with physical, but all of those are still kind of embedded in our code in who we are, right? So they're all different aspects of healing in a different way. Think of it as like code when you're, well, not a lot of people know code, but when you're coding a website or when you're coding anything, you have to write lines of code. So what's happening is each healer is writing a line of code that the body will then remember and that the subconscious will then remember and it will start to translate in their everyday life. That's a really good analogy. I need to write that down.
That's very. I sometimes call these energies barcodes. Like everything has its own barcode, and you like kind of
Right.
learn how to read the barcodes and change the barcodes. So that's a great way how to put it. There is like so many modalities that are out there, and I'm happy that you mentioned that spiritual healer does not only have to be somebody who, I guess, heal with their hands. That would be like the first thing that people think about when somebody says healer. It kind of circles back to the misconceptions. But when somebody says healer, most people will like imagine somebody like a very ethereal looking, most likely woman who's like doing some sort of like a woohoo with her hands. But I would say that obviously is one of the ways how you can do it, but healer, they're actually they can do all sorts of stuff. They can, as you mentioned, they can be working with the mental health, spiritual. They can do physical therapies. Well, if that's the case, then there's so many modalities or ways how they can. The sky is the limit. How
Mhm.
somebody can even choose this one? Because I have a suspicion there's going to be huge fear around choosing the wrong modality.
So I'll take my story for example, right? I had no idea a decade ago that I would be doing this and speaking to healers and helping healers grow and manifest their business and create their business of their dreams using the tools that they have, right? I was just a 20-year-old kid in Afghanistan. So I had no idea the life that was going to unfold before my eyes. And I say this because if you look at my life and how I went from being a good listener back in like grade school to being a medic to being a hairstylist to being a life insurance agent to being a owner of a stress room or a break room is what they call it. a rage room technically is what they call it, to then being a virtual assistant, to then being a brand designer. All of those things, I had different healing modalities or even different healing fields. Sorry, fields. Each of those were a different field of healing. So I don't feel like there should ever be a cap on, well, you fall into the physical, well, you fall into the mental, well, you fall into the spiritual.
So
If
it's
you
like
are
you
helping
don't need to make lifelong commitment that you can never change
no,
later on.
no, absolutely not.
You
I
can't. Yeah, okay.
I have so many I'm bringing up my ADHD again because it helps people understand. I have changed my career so many different times, and I have realized that it's because of my ADHD cycle. So, the reason why I'm saying this is because you don't have to choose or iron out exactly what you wanna do right now.
Just start.
Literally, just start what you're doing. If you have a calling to, like, go and sit and talk with friends, and okay, well, maybe you're like, "You know what? Maybe I wanna explore being a counselor." Awesome, that's amazing. Maybe you decide, "You know what? I wanna open a rage room where I'm at." Wonderful. That's amazing because that's still helping people in a different way. You're helping people heal from stress, from frustration, from breakups, from all of the bogus stuff that happens in our life that they don't know how else to deal with, right? So just start. Whatever you have a calling to do, sit down with it. Think about where your strengths are. That's probably the biggest key advice that I can tell somebody. Find your strengths. Sit down and even ask friends, ask family members, okay, give me 3 strengths that you think I have. By asking those other people, you're getting a different perspective on your life and where you may or may not be aligned. Because you may think, "You know what? I don't I like people, but I don't know if I want to help them deal with their problems." Right? And then somebody, one of your friends or your family members says, "Oh, you know what? You actually have this really good aura about you." So I would say spiritually or energetically aligned. Okay, well now you're going to think, "Okay, you know what? Maybe I'm going to go into tarot or maybe I'm going to go into Reiki because that's more of the one-on-one hand healing or energy healing sessions." Like, do you see what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing I can tell somebody. Start, first of all.
You can also
Second of all,
experiment, right? You can try all of these
yeah,
things and you
you don't
see
have to
what
narrow it down.
what worked for you and what didn't. But I think like a lot of people will have this fear that okay, I need to have a certification of some sort, and if I'm not, I'm going to be a fraud. But the thing is that okay, you can have certification for things like being chiropractor, right? But not all of these spiritual healing modalities, most of them actually, there is no actual schooling for them, or there is no like actual official path how to get some form of certification. So, how do you overcome this feeling of being fraud without having certain certifications?
The biggest thing that I tell my clients when it comes to that specific objection, right, mental objection that they have is embodiment means more than credential. Your lived experiences are a valid expertise. Everything that you have gone through in your life is a valid expertise. So I may not have a credential in web design, but I'm self-taught. I have done the classes myself. I have a bachelor's degree in business. Like, I have done all of these things and I've helped all of these healers and I have proof that I've helped these healers in different ways. Those are lived experiences. Those experiences are what align and those experiences make me valid. They make you valid. So think about whenever you are questioning, well, I don't have a certificate. Okay. It doesn't matter if you have a certificate. Whatever you have been through, that story is going to align with somebody else's story. And now you just made a connection. And now you can help them heal in different ways, or even the ways that maybe you have healed.
You
That's the
can, I
thing that
guess,
I can
also
tell people.
collect some reviews from people you work with. Like,
Hmm.
I would say you can show them to other people, but also you can read them yourself in the moments of
Hmm.
self doubt.
Yep.
But
I do
isn't
that.
that really funny? Because, like, if you think about it, when we go to work, whatever that work is, yes, they ask you, oh, whatever, you have some education, that's cute. But they first and foremost, they will ask you if you have actual experience working for another company. That's what you talk about, the lived experience. But there we go. They ask you for that, any company. Okay, yeah, education, cute. But do you have actual experience in company? But I think like maybe when it comes to healers, people maybe sometime like diminish the value of the lived experience. Maybe like they see differently than, but actually again, if you go to business, they will ask you furthermost about your lived experiences. But you might try to diminish them when it comes to this. Maybe we don't think it's that important. Um, how do you feel how we can overcome that feeling that maybe not feeling that our experiences are overvalued?
So I have a local networking group that I put together, and I have different healers, different modalities that come to this group. When I first started it, I had imposter syndrome really bad. I was very much like, why am I doing this? What is this doing for me? How is this helping them? And how can I be valid being there with these healers, right? Because a lot of them were mental health. And so a lot of them had credibility and a lot of them had credentials and a lot of them were very much like, okay, well, we can't talk about our clients because of HIPAA. And I'm like, okay, but I know what HIPAA is because I was a medic and we had sensitive information that I had to worry about. So I know what that is. I'm not trying to get you to talk about your clients. I'm trying to get you to talk about experiences that you have to help connect with other healers in this room because maybe you have figured something out that they're struggling. That's what I'm trying to create. And so it was a matter of me taking a step back and going, you know what? I've been through hell and back. I'm allowed to be in this room. I'm allowed to do this because guess what? Nobody else did it. Nobody else started this networking group. Nobody else thought, well, we should do this and bring people together so that we can all create a safe place to help other people on their journeys. I did that. And I did that because that's what needed to happen. So you have to kind of step out of your comfort zone sometimes
Need to
in
change
order
the
to
you need to
be able
change the
to.
paradigm,
Yep.
change the mindset. Like I think that, everybody can sit down and let's be honest and think about, okay, how many times I honestly met somebody who was, let's say, medical professional and they just clearly were not built for it. And maybe they had a certification, but clearly it wasn't the right person at the right place. And how many times, like when we've been in a difficult position mentally or emotionally, when we close our eyes, it was just one person that keeps popping up, like, okay, I'm in a bad position, okay, I want to reach out to this person, and it might not have been somebody with certificate. I guess there needs to be some form of like a match at realizing that, certifications are not always they might be, but they're not always a guarantee of great experience
Hmm.
one way.
I'll say this: everybody has a visibility wound. The wound that started them hiding. So the biggest advice that I can give to any of your listeners is take a second. This may be hard, so I would suggest bringing a comfy blanket, getting real cozy, bringing some if you're a stuffed animal person, bring a stuffed animal. If you're a dog person, you need your dog next to you, your companion, bring your companion next to you because it's going to be hard. But it's a moment of where you sit, put on some relaxing music, put it on headphones so that you're more focused and just sit with where did you start to hide? What was the first time or when was the first time you started to hide who you really are? I have come so far in a matter of a year, 2 years, 5 years. My clients in a short period of time, 6 months, 3 months, they have come so far because we have talked about where did you start to hide? Let's address that gently. Sometimes I can be a bit forceful. I don't mean to, but I'm a little assertive. um, but gently, let's work on that. Let's talk about that visibility wound because once we talk about that, once we bring acknowledgement to it, then we start to recognize it when it's showing up in our day to day. Then from there, then we start to create patterns to acknowledge, okay, I understand that you're afraid right now. I understand that you're afraid to be seen, but you're doing this to protect me and I appreciate that, but I still need to do this thing. So then it's a matter of incorporating all of the things, right? You're telling your anxiety, sit down, we're going to have a conversation, okay? And then we're going to go and do this thing and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about it. And I appreciate you keeping me safe, right? Because it's a matter of safety. It's a matter of taking the time to acknowledge yourself and acknowledge who you are. You deserve to be seen. You deserve to share your message with the world, and you deserve to help others heal as well, whatever that
But
looks like for you.
I guess that just becoming a healer, it's kind of healing on its own, right? You're also healing as you're becoming a healer. I guess you need to. I guess it just kind of happens simultaneously. But that means like it's not really an easy path, right? Because you are going to experience your own pain. You're going to experience other people' pain as well.
Yep.
That's a lot of. That's quite heavy. And quite a lot of on one's emotional plate. So what role like self-care plays in all of this?
Boundaries, first of all, because
Boundaries.
boundaries are very important. I have always told it took me a while to get my boundaries right, and I'm still learning and I still have a few that I've got to iron out, right? But when it comes to my family, when it comes to my work, I have boundaries set between family and work. When I'm in my office and my door is open, that means that you can come in and bother me or talk to me, whatever you need. But if my door is closed, it's because I'm having focus time and I'm trying to do the things that I need to do in my business. When it comes to family time outside of work, if I am with my family, I I used to be really bad about constantly being on my phone when I was around my family. Now it's a matter of, okay, I'm only going to look at my phone if it's an emergency, right? So at that point, then I just put my phone off to the side and now I'm spending intentional time with my family. So it's a matter of putting up the boundaries to protect your self care, your self worth, and being able to have the time to decompress. So if self care looks like I need to take a bath after this long day, then go take a bath because that's amazing. But when you're in the bath, be intentional about that. Don't answer work calls. Don't answer work texts. If it's not important to you, i.e., like maybe your family, then don't answer the phone. Okay. When it comes to other self care, journaling, that's another way that you can get out some of the pent up angst, if you will, and put it down on paper. And then if you really want to release it, you can burn it, the piece of paper.
But that makes actually a lot of sense what you're saying. That basically, I think a lot of people have this idea that when they start being a healer, okay, I should set up the boundaries, but they might think that also the boundaries should be like just within the session, just within the client. But you're
Mm-mm.
mentioning right things like, no, you need to have boundaries throughout your whole life. You can't just like have boundaries in this little piece of your life and then just kind of be boundary pusher for the rest of your life, right? But I'm sorry, boundary basically being a pushover for the rest of your life. So you need to set boundaries throughout your whole daily life. You can't just compartmentalize it for the sessions themselves. Is it something that people are struggling with?
Absolutely. I think that when you become a healer, whatever that looks like for you, you immediately just want to help everyone, right? So you don't put up those boundaries. You don't, okay, I'm going to have this time for work, I'm going to have this time for play or pleasure or family time or whatever. You don't do that. You are immediately like, "Oh, I'm the helper. They need me. They can help me." No, that's not it. And the reason why I tell people this, people respect you more when you have boundaries because then you know when you need to say no. So if you're telling somebody, if somebody comes to you and they're like, "Hey, you know what, Astrid, I want a tarot session, but I want it at we're going to say an ungodly hour that you are asleep and it has to be at that specific hour." Right? What would you tell them?
I would try to
You would
suggest a different time of the day.
right, right, absolutely.
Try to
And if
find a
they're
compromise.
right, but that's the thing is that you're like, "You know what? I'm unfortunately that time doesn't work for me." And you don't have to explain why. No is a complete sentence. No is a complete sentence, and that is
That's a
also a
big one.
boundary.
Yeah.
So when you tell them, "You know what? No, that time doesn't work for me. How about we do it at this time?" And then if they are so adamant about that specific time and they won't work with you, that's not the person you want to work with anyway. Because that's just going to be somebody who sucks the energy out of you, who is going to constantly over your boundaries. They're going to push you over, and it's going to result in burnout for you because you are working overtime for helping this one person who is not respecting you as a person or a healer. So having the boundaries is important.
Me if I'm wrong, but I have a suspicion, and my suspicion might not be just suspicion, that basically if somebody is healer and they have this approach of I need to help everybody, naturally this will attract boundary pushers. This will attract the wrong type of people because they see basically a free all you can eat buffet of like
Yes.
favors and energy, right? So
Yes.
not having boundaries will naturally attract like not the right people to you, right?
Correct. I have found with a lot of my clients when they are dealing with their clients, they have people that come and push the boundaries of everything. One of them was a Reiki healer, actually, and this made me remember. But one of them was a Reiki healer, and she came to me and asked me for help with her brand. I help her with her visibility wounds. We get her seen. She starts getting more clients. When that happens, she had somebody who was like, "Well, I need you to be available on this day at this time every week." And at first she started doing it because it was a new client. She was excited to get the clients, right? And that's the hard part. When you're excited to get the clients, you really want to help. Sometimes you don't know that they are energy vampires until after the fact. So she's got
That's true.
this person coming to her every week, and then she realizes that after every session, she's completely drained. She has nothing left to give other clients afterwards. And it's because she didn't put up boundaries. Specifically, if she wanted to help that person, that's fine. But if you recognize they're an energy vampire or they're not good for my mental health or whatever the case may be, I just get an ick feeling. It's a matter of taking that and putting up boundaries of either I'm either not going to work with you or I'm going to work with you at a very limited amount of time. And then afterwards, I'm going to make sure that I have time to recoup whatever I lost so that I can help other people.
You don't have
So
to be a healer
that's
for everybody. Don't be afraid to like say no to a client or reject a client.
absolutely.
You don't have to have everybody as a client, right?
I tell everybody I'm not everyone's cup of what did I say? A shot of whiskey? I'm not everyone's shot of whiskey. I'm not.
I can understand that.
Yeah, I'm a
I'm very
flame keeper for a reason.
I'm a very niche, limited whiskey myself.
Right.
More like an industrial cleaning liquid, but even for that has its
Yes.
So let's say if now somebody is listening and they are wondering, okay, so maybe I could be a healer or take some healer adjacent path. What would be a
Sure.
message to that person who's just considering it right now?
I would honestly say to sit with your strengths. That's probably the biggest thing that I can advice that I could give. And the reason why I say that is because when you figure out your strengths, that's when you start to open up to new possibilities of being a healer. Your healing method doesn't have to be black and white. It doesn't have to fall on the normal pages of a book. It can be something off the wall. It could be a matter of you did something for someone and they felt amazing and you loved the way they felt and told you that they felt. And now you want to keep doing that thing, whatever that is. It's a matter of feeling. It's a matter of what feeling do you get when you help others? If you are getting a positive feeling and you like what you're doing, then keep doing it. Absolutely. But don't put yourself in a box. I am huge on burning boxes. I do not like boxes. I hate being in a box. So I tell everyone, burn the box. Burn the box. Don't put yourself in a box. Let your imagination run wild. Let your heart feel. Let your body experience life and how healing others can be. Right? It does not have to be the normal 1, 2, 3, ABC, whatever healing you are used to. It can be something completely different, i.e., like a rage room. That was one of the biggest ways that I helped people heal their stress. So don't worry about fitting in a box. Go with what you feel and feel it
That's
deeply.
beautiful. If somebody wants to work with you, where they can find you and what type
They
of people you work with.
Well, actually, I work with healers. I work with healers of all modalities, whatever that may be. And I'm a brand strategist and web designer. I'm the flame keeper. I keep the flame alive. I help you heal visibility wounds. And how we do that and how you can find me is actually finding me on most social media platforms at Angel Branding Co. So you can find me there. You can also find me at angel-brandingco.com. But yeah, I'm working on my book actually, and it's set to be published in 2026. And it's called Serpentine Strategy: The Flamekeeper's Path for Reclamation. And it blends personal storytelling, trauma-informed brand wisdom, and spiritual healing to help readers step boldly into visibility. So stay tuned for that. I'm super excited about that. But yeah, this was such a pleasure, Astrid. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming. Obviously, as always, I'm going to put all the links to Angel's social media in the description section below. Thank you so much for listening. Let your unseen light shine. And I'm going to see you in the next episode.